Welcome to the Light of Sirio podcast. My name is Dori Fari and I will speak with a realized spiritual master about his views on life and the topic of spirituality. So we arrive now to the fourth episode of the second season of this spiritual podcast. And in the first episode we talked about the spiritual path that is called Surat Shabd Yoga or Sant Mat, or it's also called Nada Yoga. And then in the following two episodes, the second and third, we talked about two important things of this path. And I read these previous episodes from the book of Master Kirpal, The Crown of Life. Most of these quotes I took from the part of the book which is called The Cornerstones. Master Kirpal gives 3 cornerstones in this book for this spiritual path, and one is Sadguru, about which we were talking in the episode that was called The Master Souls. Then there is the Sadachar, which has lots of meanings, but could be, in a very simplified way, could be called as self-discipline or a good and pure life, which is the episode on initiation. You said, Master, that in order to be able to be initiated, one has to have self-discipline and live a good and pure life to be ready for initiation. Then we could hear also about the spiritual practice and how it is explained, the theoretical and the practical part of the path during the initiation, and it's done the practice. So we reached to there that we came on the path, we met the master, we were initiated, and what happens afterwards? Could you please talk about this, how the spiritual practice, the sadhana, which is the third cornerstone in the book of Master Kirpal, happens in practice? So how do we proceed after initiation?
So before initiation, we have been asked to begin leading a certain lifestyle, which includes diet, which includes a honest, righteous life, which is part of this so-called sadachar, and a disciplined life, because you have to give up so many things, and that's discipline. So if you have been already getting used to a life of discipline and a righteous life, a life in which you don't hurt anybody, you don't suck the blood of anybody, you are a true, honest man. At least you try. So now you have taken initiation. Eventually comes the day in which the initiation is given to you, and then at the end of each initiation, the master gives some advices about helping factors and retarding factors. The helping factors are usually doing your daily meditation. It should be at least 2 hours in between the two practices, the one for the light and the one for the sound. Total should be at least 2 hours. Then you need to live a life of introspection. Means you have to analyze your life, introspect your life. And you have to attend Satsang. That's the other helping factor. Because coming together with other seekers of truth or Satsangis, it's a very helping factor. Because when 2 or more of these so-called seekers of truth come together, then the master or God is there. And you get the benefit, you get the blessing, which boosts you up, and then you're able to live for the next days until the next satsang in a more uplifted, inspired way. That's always been with me. I always attend the satsang because satsang was such an uplifting moment for me, occasion, and it allowed me to live then much easier my practice, my everyday lifestyle of a satsangi. Then you have to go for retreats. That's another very important helping factor. Retreats, for me personally, are the most helping factor on a spiritual path, because it's an intensive period of some days which you dedicate to go within and contact the divine presence, the divine power. That means translates into contact with the divine light within you and the holy sound, which uplifts your consciousness and puts you in the right perspective. So these are the helping factors doing the spiritual practice, which is what we are talking about now.
May I ask one thing? This spiritual sadhana, daily sadhana, personal practice, to do at least 2 hours practice daily, divided in between the light and the sound. In the previous episode, you said that when there is the practice, there are some people who are more inclined to see the light and some others are more inclined to the sound because it's more difficult for them to see the light. If somebody is more inclined, for example, to listen to the sound, is it this person still supposed to do the practice to try to see the light?
Yes, of course. Because when you try to manifest the light or meditate on the Simran, so-called, to manifest the light, then you practice the repetition of the Simran. And that's a very important aspect of the practice. 2 techniques, one for the light, one for the sound. But they are a bit different. So when you try to manifest the light, you repeat the Simran. When you try to listen to the sound, you want a complete silence, so you don't repeat the Simran. You just pay attention to the sound. So both the practices have to be done anyway, even if you're not able to manifest the light or you don't get the blessing to manifest the light. But you hear the sound. And some people also, while listening to the sound, they have some visual experience because the light brings the sound on its way, but can be also the opposite. The sound then brings also the light eventually. The 2 practices are to be done anyway, even if you are more inclined, more easily to come in touch with the sound and less easily to come in touch with the light.
But should it be equal amount or?
No, it's not equal amount. 2/3 of the time should be devoted to the light and repetition of Simran, and 1/3 to listening of the sound. Usually is like this, but according to the personal inclinations, it may vary, it may change. So maybe somebody who gets the benefit of listening to the sound should listen more to the sound and do maybe half and half. So that's the general rule, but it may vary according to the person. What is the spiritual practice that we do on Santamat? Meditation on the inner light, meditation on the inner sound, but then Simran is also very, very important. That's another way of raising our consciousness to another level. To me personally, it comes very naturally when I am very, very busy repeating the Simran, when I am very immersed in the repetition of the Simran. To me, naturally, my consciousness just changes level. It's always been like this for me in my many years on this path.
Do you mean this repetition like when you are not meditating?
Yes, repetition always, when you are meditating and also when you are not meditating, all the time. Then you begin, at least to me, my consciousness begins to change level. And I begin to have incredible, wonderful intuitions, perceptions, revelations. My mind becomes very enlightened, very bright, and I begin to perceive things and to have revelations about truths, which to me, only the repetition of Simran really does.
When one does a repetition of the Simran, not in meditation, how to imagine this or how to perform? Is it like sitting in meditation with open eyes and just repeat the Simran and doing nothing? Or can we do this while we are doing something, performing actions? Or
doing everything in life. Eating, drinking, working, even talking with people at the same time. When is really busy with the Simran, then, even when you're talking with somebody, the Simran goes on by itself. So coming to a state of automatic Simran, which automatic is not a good word, but that means making our mind so deeply saturated with the repetition of Simran that then it goes on by itself. You don't really have to make an effort. It is like this with repetition of Simran. When you begin, you have to make an effort, means quantity. But then if you go on with the quantity, then the quality comes. And then it goes on almost by itself without much effort on your side. And there you really come to a state of constant Simran. Sanji used to talk a lot about you have to reach constant Simran. Constant Simran. It was one of his main emphases and main teachings for a successful spiritual life, for really progressing on the path. You have to reach a constant Simran. That's what he always emphasized. So this is another aspect of the practice. Doing Simran throughout the whole day, whichever activity you're doing, try to get busy doing the Simran, repetition. Because then it builds such a love inside, because you can do this only if you really have love. And the more you repeat the Simran, the more love is generated inside of you, kind of heat. It's like nurturing a fire, which is beginning to raise inside of you. And the more you do it, the more this flame becomes strong, and it generates love, it generates devotion, it generates bliss, it generates ecstasy.
It's beautiful.
So this is one very important aspect of the practice. The other one is the singing of holy songs. On this path, both Master Kirpal and Sant Ajaib Singh, they have written lots of very beautiful songs in Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu. These are very beautiful songs that if we sing before we sit for meditation, then they create an atmosphere which develops our receptivity or increases our receptivity. Receptivity to what? Is it receptivity to Sadguru power? And then you tune in with Sadguru power, and then you have a blissful meditation. Simran does also the same. If you are so busy doing the Simran, if your mind is saturated with the repetition of Simran, when eventually you sit in silence to meditate, you don't have to make any effort. You find yourself right away deep into meditation. That's how it has always been with me. In the periods when I was busy, very busy doing the Simran, when I sat in meditation, I just went deep into meditation without doing anything. This is the other thing, the holy songs, the bhajans. And one should learn them very well and should learn them by heart. There are very few on the path, I must say, that really pay attention to this practice. Learning very well the bhajans and learning them by heart. A singer, when she goes on stage, he doesn't read from a paper. They know the songs that they are going to sing during the concert. And so a Satsangi, when she goes to Satsang and wants to sing a song, that song should be by heart and not reading from the book. Because you lose at least 50% of the benefit that the song can give to you if you read from the book. If you repeat it, if you sing it without reading, if you know by heart, then it's so much better, so much more effective. So this is another very important aspect of the practice. So what one has to do after receiving initiation, every day one has to get up early in the morning. It has to become a complete lifestyle from the beginning after initiation to the end when you eventually go into the coffin. Never give up. Every day you get up and never lose the meditation, because, as Master Kirpal used to say, if you lose the meditation for one day, you regress for 7 days. Means eventually you are not on the path anymore eventually. You just get out of the flow. So one has to do every day, get up, get ready, sit down, sing the holy songs, create a wonderful atmosphere, close your eyes and go deep into Simran repetition, trying to manifest the light. Then eventually you shift to listening to the sound. Then meditation is over, you go on repeating the Simran. You go into your activities, whatever you're doing, and try to be tuned in with the Simran, which will allow you to be tuned in with the holy presence of God for the rest of your day and make your day wonderful. And if you don't repeat the Simran, then sing some holy songs during the day also. That's always been my practice. I was always singing and being very joyful, and people would tell me, "Oh, you're so joyful." You know, happy people, God helps them. People who are not happy, not even God can help them.
So it's also a part of the practice to be happy.
Yes, it's a consequence.
Master Kirpal used to say, "Go jolly."
Go jolly, yes. Go jolly and go on doing the Simran. Go on doing the Simran joyfully.
Well, at this point, I would like to add, I have heard that you know nearly 300 of these holy songs, bhajans, by heart.
Yes, we have a bhajan book which is almost 300 pages. I know all of them. And plus, I know others which are not included in this book. So I know more or less some 300 or even more. Moreover, I have written at least 100 songs myself, which I know most of them by heart. I know some English songs, some songs of Rumi from Hafiz, by Rumi. So So my repertory is very, very huge.
So you are like a lexicon of holy songs. There is a question which was sent to be asked from you, which I feel to be connected to this argument, because you said keep doing the spiritual practice every day and be persistent and not miss any day. Question: how to deal with meditation if we have guests, for example, family members in our home and the circumstances are not ideal?
Well, maybe in those occasions, hopefully they are not too many days in which you have these guests. If it is just for one day, okay, for that day try to do less meditation just to be in harmony with your guests. But don't give up. At least some 15-20 minutes you do, because the habit has to be kept. So maybe you don't go for 2-3 hours, but at least 20 minutes, half an hour, you do it. So that you can do for sure. You find a way, you go in the toilet and stay there for half an hour. If you don't want to show them that you are separating yourself from them and they may be disappointed, this is a way. There may be other ways also. You find your way. And will other people get the benefit from meditation? Children get the benefit, dogs get the benefit. To me, everybody gets the benefit. Even the whole universe gets the benefit of your meditation. Some people say, what's the use of meditation? Sitting there 20 minutes trying to do the repetition of some names of God, what's the use of it? Recently I heard the lecture of a so-called kind of guru telling this kind of thing. So I thought, oh my God, what is he saying, this person? I mean, meditation is always trying to bring some beautiful energy down on this physical planet, on this physical plane. So it's always beneficial. Everybody gets benefit. Everybody, even the vegetation, even the stones, even the room, the bricks of the room in which you're sitting gets the benefit, to my understanding.
Yes, actually this was the second half of this question. Does it have a good effect on a child or on a little animal like a doggy, or rather is it unfavorable for the one who is meditating? So is it unfavorable
to meditate when there are people in the house?
Yes, like having guests and so how is it that what's happening here? Do they get the benefit or I am just disturbed by them?
Well, you might be a bit disturbed, but anyway, there are some people who are kind of paranoid. So there are some teachers who say you don't sit in meditation when there are people who are not initiated in the house because the vibration, they may harm you and things like that. I mean, what are we? Are we made out of what? Out of ice cream that we melt with nothing? I mean, a person must have some strength. You are not to be influenced by others. You have to have the strength to influence the others. To me, a person who is so easily influenced by the presence of anybody is not so fit for a spiritual path. One person who is on a spiritual path must have the strength and the power to influence the life of other people and not to be all the time influenced by other people.
I remember that times ago you gave a satsang around Christmas time when you said this is the time when we have to generate love, and like we sit down to meditate and then generate love, fills up the space where we are, the room, then the whole house, then it goes out in the street and it influences other people. Now when you were talking about the constant Simran, the repetition of the Simran while we live our everyday life, it was very beautiful as you described, like a flame raising, like a flame of love, like a heat, like a strong love generated, manifested by the Simran. And now we had this question about how to deal with meditation when we have guests. But how is it when we do constant Simran and there is a strong love generated in us? Do other people get the benefit with whom we meet? Because I imagine it's like a contagious something.
It's definitely contagious, yes. What we generate inside of us through the spiritual practice is not only for us. It spreads from us. We become like a radio station that gives out waves of some kind. Yes, definitely. You benefit the very near people to you, like your family members, but also the neighbors and even the town in which you live. If you live in a town or even nearby a town, as in this case we I'm sure that all the people from the town nearby, they somehow get benefit.
You also talked about helping factors and about how to proceed with the practice to do our daily meditation, and you talked very much in details about it. But you also said, you talked about the importance of attending satsang. So when we meet the satsang, is the meditation stronger, or in what way is the satsang a helping factor? What does happen to us when we attend satsang with other satsangis? You said when two disciples meet, then the master is present. What happens?
Well, the example I like to give is always, you want to start a fire. You take a piece of wood, just one, and try to start a fire. Very difficult. To start a fire, you need some smaller pieces of wood, some paper, and some bigger ones, and again bigger. That's how you start a good fire which warms up the place. And satsang is the same. You put just one person. Well, if this person is a holy man, he doesn't need anybody beside him, beside her, to start a fire. It will be inflamed by himself or herself. But if ordinarily, let's say, satsang is come together, just one person won't be able to create that or to attract to himself, herself, the holy presence. But if there are more, then it's like, by the way, one is a bit better in meditation, one is a bit worse, one who is excellent. They come together, and then this fire of love, which attracts the divine blessing, generates, and the blessing comes, and then satsang becomes really different. When I talk about satsang in this case, it's not just listening to a discourse of the master. I mean sitting also in meditation together, sing the song, meditate, and then listen to the words of the master. The whole event becomes so blessed. It's always it happens.
I would like to join another question that was sent to the email address, because you mentioned that the satsangis are different, all of them, as there are not two people the same in this world. So there is one who is good in meditation, there is one who is a bit weak, and there is one who is excellent, and whatever. So the question, which I would like to ask from you now, is it necessary to have a certain psychological and spiritual maturity to progress on this spiritual path, Surat Shabd Yoga?
Not necessarily, I'm sorry. I've seen it over and over again for 50 years now that a person may be excellent, very good person, living a very, let's say, good life in all respects, but not be spiritually inclined. So, being a good, honest person, loving person is not enough to be receptive to the spiritual current, the spiritual energy. A person who maybe is going through a very, let's say, difficult time in their life, but having a strong, intense spiritual inclination and really having this incredible need to find peace, means more tormented, in a few words, might be much more ready and inclined to tune in with the holy presence of God than the other person who is quite okay, peaceful, living a good life, good job, good family, good everything, but not spiritually inclined. So, to be a good man in the social sense of the word is not enough to be spiritually inclined and to have a good spiritual experience.
But I don't understand something well enough in this question, because it says psychological and spiritual maturity. What is psychological maturity and what is spiritual maturity?
Well, they are two different things. I wouldn't join them together. Spiritual maturity and psychological maturity, they don't really always go together. Because, as I said, one can be a very balanced, equipoised person, having a good life, but not having this ardor, this longing, this yearning for God. And a person who psychologically might be a bit tormented, going through difficult time, might be more ready, more inclined towards tuning in with God's presence, get the blessing. Master Sirio used to say, quoting from the Bible, from the Gospels, the doctor doesn't come for the one who is fine, who has no problems, healthy person. The doctor is there for the people who are sick. So the master also is there for the people who are somehow troubled, and not for those who are fine. Those who are fine, they are okay in their own being fine, nothing more.
Psychological maturity one can understand in a way, though comes into my mind something which I have heard as an expression, holy madness. So sometimes maybe those who are, not fully balanced in a psychological way, still they have this holy ardor.
Yes, very possible. I've seen it over and over again.
But I still don't really understand what is spiritual maturity.
Well, spiritual maturity comes later on. This initial phase, when you may be tormented, but you are looking intensely for truth, that's in the beginning. Then you come on the path. You do your spiritual practice. You become very, let's say, learned, experienced about the path. Then comes the spiritual maturity. Then you must become a master when you are spiritually mature. It's not in the beginning. It comes later on.
So it means that it's not necessary to have any kind of spiritual maturity to come on the path or to progress. Because the question was, is it necessary the psychological and spiritual maturity to progress?
It's not a good asked question to me. As I said, what you need to come on a spiritual path is an incredible longing, a strong yearning for something divine. That's what you need. And you might not be so psychologically balanced or spiritually mature. That comes later on.
And if we detach the first part of the question, the maturity part, and we just leave to progress. So how do we progress on the path?
We progress on the path by coming on the path, having a good initiation, a good experience that really convinces you that what you're doing, it is the right thing and it is going to take you where you want to go. And then you persist, do your spiritual practice. That's how you progress spiritually. By a good entrance into the spiritual path through initiation and by a constant discipline sadhana or spiritual practice.
And there is something I would like to ask to please talk more about it, because you mentioned it, but then we just jumped over, because you talked about the helping factors like the daily spiritual practice, what the Satsang, holy songs as part of the spiritual practice, and self-introspection also. But you also mentioned the retreats, spiritual retreats. So what are the retreats and what are they meant for?
So spiritual retreats is what I call also an intensive of meditation. It's when you, for 3, 4, 5 days, a week, you go to the ashram, especially if you go to a place where there is the master, and together with him, you have a schedule during the day of several sittings in which there is bhajan singing, guided meditation, silent meditation, satsang, and on several occasions during the day. So you have an intensive spiritual practice. And this is what attracts God's blessing. Because as we said, when you go to satsang with more than 2 people, then God is there. When more satsangis come together for, let's say, a week of intense spiritual practice, God is there a lot. He is so much more there. During a retreat, usually people go through their very best possibility and their very worst. Because the 2 things, they just are 2 sides of the same coin. And in order to, that's how it is in my experience, in order to reach the best side of yourself, or the most divine side of yourself, you have also to experience the most dark side of yourself. Because the 2 things go together. You have to know who you are in all possible ways, the best and the worst. And if you get to the worst, then you definitely get to the best. And if you get to the best, you definitely have experienced the worst.
But what does it mean in practice, to experience your worst and the best?
We have so many dark sides of ourselves, and we have to face them, because they come up. During a retreat, they do come up.
So it's like an inner experience.
It's a fight with the mind that at some point becomes an enemy, because the mind doesn't want you to go out of its sphere, the sphere of the mind. It wants to hold you there, and it's best to keep you in its domain. So if you try to get out, you will have to fight with the mind, and the mind will have so many ways of giving you troubles.
I remember in one of the previous episodes you also said one has to progress gradually on the path. If we do too much practice, then it just becomes too much. So is this what you mean?
It's an aspect of it. I mean that we have to broaden our capacity, and we have to do gradually. So when we go for an intensive meditation retreat, we are trying to broaden our boundaries, our possibilities, our capacity. When it's like those who raise weights. If you raise 50 kilos, then 60 will be difficult. But if you keep training, then you will succeed. So it is like this. And it varies with all possible persons, people, the potential that you have. So for one person, an hour meditation is a lot. For another person, 5 hours meditation is nothing. Or it's just a few. It's just the beginning. The one for whom 1 hour meditation is too much, I will have to train and come to 2, and then to 4, and then to 5. That's where the retreat comes into play. That's an occasion in which you are doing it with all the others, and you have to meditate 8-9 hours per day. Then after this, your capacity will be broadened, and you will be able to, if an hour was too much, then 2 will be possible. And then by and by, you increase like that, you improve. That's spiritual growth.
It sounds very intense, this spiritual work.
Spiritual practice and spiritual self-realization. It's a big work, big transformative work.
Thank you, dear Master, to tell all these things to us. So if you have any questions, please send it to the siriopodcast@gmail.com. Still have quite some questions that are waiting to be answered, but still more questions are welcome. Now, to close this episode that is about the spiritual practice, we can again listen to a beautiful and uplifting song by Donna Jewel Pollard, sang by Master Sirio, and the title is Close These Eyes, which is just the spiritual practice. So we close these eyes and listen to the song.
Close these eyes that see this world. Close these ears that hear this world. Close this mouth that speaks of a body. Separate me from this mind that binds me to this world, and let me soar with you to God. For you have promised you will sit me in the lap of God. But I am weak and cannot move without thee. As long as I can think of thee, I am not touched by pain. As long as I repeat thy name, no sorrow dares come near me. As long as I can see thy face, I take no interest in this dream where dark prevails. Oh, Master, close these eyes that see this world. Close these ears that hear this world. Close this mouth that speaks of a body. Separate me from this mind that binds me to this world, and let me soar with thee to God. For you have promised you will sit me in the lap of God. But I am weak and cannot move without thee. separate me from this mind that binds me to this world, and let me soar with thee to God. For you have promised you will sit me in the lap of God. But I am weak and cannot move without thee. But I am weak and cannot move without